Good afternoon. It is Monday, September 22nd, 2025, at 5:01 p.m. in the Defuniak Springs Courthouse, and we are here for the final budget hearing. And all the commissioners are in attendance, and the meeting is called to order. I'd like to hand it to our CFO, Melissa Thomason. I need to back that up, excuse me. Let's say the pledge and the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. Danny, would you do that?
Yes. Father, we thank you for this day, Lord, and all your blessings. We thank you for allowing us to be in this place at this time to do your business, and we ask now that you would give us wisdom and that you would help us, Lord, to be in tune with you and your will as we do your business. Lord, we ask that you would be with the Cosin family as they have lost their loved one, and we ask that you would be with them and give them strength and comfort in the coming days. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I would like to pass it to our CFO.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we get to our first item, which is the fiscal year 26 public budget statement, I did want to mention a couple of items that have changed within the budget that do not affect the overall dollar amount. They don't make any overall impact on the budget, but they did want to mention them. One is with the cost of living and merit increase or step increases. The board at the workshop had directed staff for a 5% increase. We had that originally approved at a 3% COLA and a 2% step for our non-exempt employees. However, with our current system, HR has been trying to work that out within the Munis system, and the steps are set up at 1.75%. So for purposes of the budget, we would ask to change that to a 3.25% COLA and a 1.75% step. So no overall budgetary impact, just a different spread than what was directed by the board at the workshop. I also want to mention for emergency management, we have discussed before the mitigation coordinator that Mr. Goldberg had requested, and we met with Mr. Goldberg and with Mr. Kellenberger, and he believes that he could wait another year to replace a generator that he has budgeted in the current year, and instead it would be better served to utilize those dollars for this mitigation coordinator. So we would ask to go ahead and make that change. And I would ask if the board has any questions or comments. And if not, we'll get Mr. Payton to take care of our budget statement. Okay. Yes.
Can you? I think we have a lapel microphone that we could use, right? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have anything you wanted to say, Commissioner?
No, I just want to let y'all know, I didn't want somebody saying, "Oh, we can't hear you."
Okay.
Okay, Commissioners, I'll read the statement that must be read. The purpose of this meeting is to adopt a final millage rate and a final budget for the Board of County Commissioners of Walton County, Florida. For fiscal year 2026, a millage rate of 3.575 will be required to meet the minimum requirements of the various budgets submitted to the Board of County Commissioners, and 0.441 mills will be required to meet the minimum requirements of the North Walton Mosquito Control District. The fiscal year 2026 aggregate operating millage rate is 3.6041 mills, which is greater than the rollback rate of 3.4337 mills by 4.73%. This millage rate is required to fund the various capital projects that were submitted and the departments that were submitted to the Board of County Commissioners. The rollback rate is the millage rate that will provide the same ad valorem tax revenue as was levied during the prior year. And then I'd ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And then I'll go ahead and read the resolution to adopt the millage. Whereas, based upon the total assessment of $46,594,067,031, a millage rate of 3.575 will be required to meet the minimum requirements of the various budgets submitted by county officials. And whereas, based upon the total assessment of $3,073,605,287, a millage rate of 0.441 will be required to meet the minimum requirements of the North Walton Mosquito Control District. I'd ask for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments from the board?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Okay.
Since Mr. Gladwell, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Gladwell, forgive me, and Commissioner Drake had originally, had stated with the millage, they both would like to, I wanted to try and get as close to the millage that
We're on mosquito
Commissioner,
control district millage.
do what? That's all we're talking about on that?
We're on this mosquito control district.
No, it's on both.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the second one. Go ahead.
So I tried to get it as close to that top number that Commissioner Drake had suggested, without doing anything to capital projects and without touching the staff's money, and to find out to even lower our debt by paying off a loan that we've already paid almost $8 million on in interest alone. Right now, we pay $2.1 million a year on that loan, and we still have $10,777,000 left to pay on that. So in all actuality, by it's all said and done, we'll probably be close to $12 million in interest that we paid on this loan. So my option would be to lower it and get it almost to Commissioner Drake's 3.50, but it'd be a 3.5071, which equates to $4,112,159, and lowering the millage. How do we get there? Again, Commissioner Gladwell's 1.1, but then you add in the 2.182 million for the loan payment that we paid, unanticipated auction funds that was $400,000 when we budgeted 500, so there's 400,000 there. And then I have spoken to Clay and Melissa about a sweep back of the funding at the EDA level, which, we're not getting out of the EDA. The EDA already has $800,000 in the bank accounts right now, or close to it. There's $790-something thousand in there. And I can let Clay discuss that on what that sweep back motion is.
So the county's long held a position with its interlocal agreement to fund the Walton County Economic Development Alliance that allows its unspent monies at the end of any fiscal year to be swept back or to return to the Walton County General Fund. So as it approaches this year, Commissioner Curry asked what our options were, talked to him, spoken to Melissa. Effectively, the board has two options. You can choose to seek the sweepings or sweep the money back that you have provided in the prior fiscal year, which would return the unspent portion of the county's money. Or alternatively, the county could take the position this year that it does not wish to fund additional money into the next fiscal year, but not sweep back the prior money. Based on the budgetary ask of the EDA, it would result in effectively the same cost savings, whichever way you go to the county, within $10,000 here or there, I think, from what we looked at, right, Melissa? So you can do it either way. If you choose not to sweep the money back, you could choose not to provide additional funding into the next fiscal year, which would still leave them with an operating budget. Or alternatively, you could sweep back your money from last year, which basically means you're just going to pay them with the money that you already gave them and they didn't spend. So it's net neutral to the county, whichever way you go about this. Either you're going to return the money and fund it again, or you're not going to fund it and be out that money but not have it come out of this year's budget.
Madam
So
Chair,
either way would be something the board could take up if you choose.
there is a third option, correct, Mr. Hadkissen, which is to go ahead like we've already budgeted.
Oh, that's true. The question asked to me was, how would we address the sweeping as part of this year's budget process if the desire was to sweep? So certainly the board does not have to sweep it as discretionary to the board.
The last item is how do you pay the loan off that we're paying $2.1 million on. And we have a $20 million fund for a transfer station that I'm really not a fan of the way it was sold to me when I first got on this board. You're wanting to buy land from a county standpoint, you're wanting to build a facility out of county money, and you're wanting to staff it for county money for a for-profit, basically for a for-profit agency that, for trash pickup. So if you got $20 million in that account, I would like to stop the bleeding on the interest payments that we are paying. Right now, it's at $400,000 a year on that loan, and use half of that money to pay off that debt. So we have no longer any interest payments on that debt, and that $2.1 million would go into helping, lower the millage rate. And I've done just about everything I can to try and get it to that high number, Commissioner Drake. So if you guys want to ask any questions, have at it.
With all due respect, paying that loan off is not sound fiscal policy. Right now, we're paying 2.1% interest on one of those loans and about 3.5% on the other. At the same time, we're getting in excess of 5% payment as interest back to us. So what you're basically doing is you're costing the county 1.5% to 2%. The difference between what we're paying and what we're getting. Not to mention, if we have a hurricane, and we still have a couple of months of hurricane season left, and I don't think I have to tell anybody October 5th is when Opal hit. So if we had a hurricane and had to borrow, at the state conference last week, we heard a Bay County commissioner say they had to borrow $300 million to dig out of Michael, literally, and that they still owe $100 million of that. And so if we had to borrow money, or if we had to have money for a hurricane, it would be better to take money that we've got in the bank that's ours that we don't have to pay any interest rate on, rather than pay off a loan that we're already making money on. I mean, we're making 1.5% to 2% on that money right now. So that's just not sound fiscal policy. I can't support that.
I agree with you on that point. And just for the record, as we all know, I've been trying to get some property in District 4 for a senior center and everything else, and I was hoping to dip into that money that is sitting there in their transfer station, and wanted to use that money for that purchase. So, and to Commissioner Glidewell's point, I don't think that it would be beneficial to pay off that loan as he stated, and so therefore I personally think that the roll to the 3.575 that was already done by Commissioner Glidewell was sufficient, and I was at the same conference that he was at and that Commissioner Curry was at, and we were told there that be careful about reducing and rolling back your millage rate because we don't know what the future holds right now with SB 180, with the ideas that are going on with the tax, the property tax, and other issues like that. So at this point in time, I just don't think that it's a good idea to roll that back.
Mr. Atkinson, can I make this a substitute motion?
So if you make that a substitute motion, we'll go through the process. But yes, a substitute motion is cognizable under Robert's rules.
And then I would also like to add that there's a $350,000 item on there about, I guess, maybe some engineering or design for a road through the forest. I guess that's the common denominator. I would like to take that off and put it back into the general fund.
And I agree with that.
That can be a separate motion.
So that's going to need to come up under the actual budget. Right now, we're talking about the millage rate, so we can't take line items from the budget itself. I mean, the discussion obviously was how you would get the reduced millage rate. But right now, the only motion on the floor is related to the millage rate itself, and therefore any substitute motion has to relate to the millage rate, not the budget itself.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Anderson?
I'm not against cutting the millage rate, but I see some options where we could, do it without cutting the EDA, because we don't know what the budget's gonna be next year. We've got a bill that's gonna be on, a thing that is gonna be on, the general election to do away with property taxes. And it's gonna pass pretty much with 80%. And then that takes our sheriff's budget that we have to do, it takes all the constitutional offices we have to do. And it's, everybody wants their property tax cut, and I don't blame them. I've got property too, and I don't like paying property tax either. But the state is going to have to replace that money some way, because the counties are not going to have that kind of money. And the only way they can do it is by raising the sales tax to about 12 to 15% on the dollar. And that's going to be a tough sell, and of course the state can do what they want. They want to be in charge of all the counties and municipalities anyway. But I think this is a year that we need to be really, really careful. We've got a lot of things, as you said, Senate Bill 180. That's going to cause problems. So I think we need to be really, really careful about cutting budgets this year till we see what happens in the 26 election. Because there's going to be a period of time there where we're not getting taxes. We're getting 7 or 8%, whatever our sales tax is, but where are we going to get the money to furnish all the constitutionals, the sheriff's department, pay for our Social Security on our employees, and there's 3 or 4 more things that we have that is, we're going to have to be really careful until we know what the state is going to do. But I'd be willing to bet anybody in this room that the property tax is going to pass. And there's more people that want the property tax cut than there are people that doesn't. Everybody's going to have a tough decision to make. But it's not going to be, oh, we cut the property taxes. What people don't understand, the state and the county both are going to have to figure out a way to make that money up. And the way to do it, the only way to do it that I've been told by several legislators and several lawyers is that we're going to have to raise the sales tax between 12 and 15%. But that's not going to happen until after the property tax is cut. So there's going to be a period of time where we're not getting a whole lot of money in here.
Right, and right now, we can't collect mobility fees either.
No, that's exactly right. And there's so much about 180 that's going to be detrimental to this county, and I think every county in the state. And I don't know if the legislator will straighten this out or not, but from what I understand and what I've read in the bill, if we have one hurricane in the state of Florida, that adds another 3 years. And so I've lived here 70 years, and I cannot remember when we didn't have a hurricane somewhere in the state of Florida.
Absolutely.
So, there's a lot of unknowns out there. I really don't want to cut EDA because I think that's the lifeblood for the north end of the county. The south end, not so much, because it's pretty well built out. But the north end is where the businesses are wanting to come to, and that's going to help the north end economy and the north end people up here with jobs.
Drake. Commissioner Drake asked.
If Commissioner Curry wants to make the motion, we need to let him make the motion and see if it gets a second. If it gets a second, you continue a debate on both motions.
Have you made a motion?
Yeah, yes.
So we need to call for you need to call for a second on the substitute.
Right. Would you repeat your substitute motion?
The substitute as stands, as we discussed, lowering the millage, the way I have it, 3.5071.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so
We'll debate both the primary and the substitute motion. The substitute motion will be voted on first, is the way it works. So we can carry on debating with both at the same time. Because they're both to set the
did you want
millage
to
rate.
speak, Commissioner Drake?
Yes. So when we first began this budget exercise, Ms. Thompson, I had a question that I was going to ask that I thought would be rudimentary to our exercise. And Ms. Thompson answered it before I could ask it, and it was that what is our debt service rate on all of the loans that we have outstanding, and does it exceed what the market is offering right now? And the answer to that was that our interest rates were locked in at 2.1 and 3.5%. So that is below what market rate is. So we would be losing money if we paid off the debt early. We would be robbing Peter, paying Paul, but then owing Paul more in the end. So I don't really like that. I do think, Commissioner Curry, you're going in the right direction. I mean, the rollback rate is 3.44 some number. I would still like to get closer to 3.5 even. The question that we have to ask ourselves is, so we've got this money that comes in, and it comes into our possession, and then we begin to spend it. But local governments levy taxes. Any government agency, they levy taxes to exist, just to provide essential services that meet the demand of the constituency. So if a community like the city of Defuniak Springs or the city of Freeport or Walton County, if they have a demand for certain services, they're going to be willing to pay for it. If the demand is not there, government does not need to overstep ourselves and then offer up additional projects just because we would like to spend that. I mean, we all enjoy getting Christmas gifts on Christmas Day. I mean, everybody likes to receive and be the beneficiary of hard work, of progress. But we have to ask ourselves when we begin this thing is that what is it that as a board of commissioners, what is it as a governmental body, our fundamental obligation and duty is, and it's to provide the necessary services and infrastructure that is required or that the demand of the constituency is asking for. A few years back, there was a referendum that was placed on the ballot that asked the constituency, that asked the residents of Walton County, would you be willing to pay more in a 1-cent tax in order to receive greater infrastructure on the back end? And the constituency, the electorate, said no, and it was by a large margin. So what we're doing is we're justifying spending more money, or we're trying to justify spending more money for infrastructure because we say that the constituency demands it. But when it was actually went out to referendum and specifically asked the constituency, do you want a 1-cent increase per dollar on sales taxes to pay for expanded infrastructure? And you're going to get some nice roads, you're going to get some bridges, we're going to catch up on projects. I mean, the justification was out there, and the constituency said no by like 80%. So now here we are, we're setting our budget, and we're going, you know what, we gotta have capital projects, we gotta have this, we gotta have infrastructure, we gotta have, the constituency is telling us all throughout the state, and and especially here in Walton County, they want to keep the money that they earned. They work, we all work, we pay taxes, and then the government extracts it year after year after year. And what I'm hearing and seeing out there is people are saying, we want to send less to you guys. We know better how to spend it. So, I mean, I'm of the mindset that I still want to shoot for, I mean, I don't know that I can get in posture to get to 3.5 unless Commissioner Curry wanted to change his substitute motion, but I would like to get at I think he's going in the right direction, even at 3.50, whatever the number is. But we got to figure out how to pay for it. And we can do that. We may not be able to do it tonight. I mean, there's been times in the past where where we have had to go back, think on it, roll up our sleeves, sit down, put pen to paper, and figure out how we can create reductions. There is a ton of money out there that comes in through ad valorem assessments in our county. I mean, the amount of funding that exists is enormous. So I guess it's just between the five of us to figure out, where appropriately that money should be spent at this point. Should it be spent back in returning back to constituency, or are we going to continue to fund additional projects for the sake of infrastructure? I just don't think that we're moving in the right direction if we go down that road.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Ms. Thomason, a $2.5 million cut would result in what millage rate?
Pretty much close to what you proposed earlier.
3.5375 results in 2.7.
3.3575?
3.53.
3.5375?
Yeah, that was one of the motions that I made to split the difference between you two before nobody wanted to do it. Melissa, you did say that there was a possible other motion or a possible other avenue that would help in this situation, or no?
Let me make a change to my motion first.
May I interject something before you go on the motion? Because I think it's fundamental to the conversation is that, and Commissioner Anderson, my friend, he made comments about the legislature. Here's the deal, guys. We should be making our decisions regardless of whether we're getting assistance and help from the legislature or not. We need to prepare for the future as if we are going to exist autonomously. We're not going to get assistance. So, I mean, we shouldn't be making our decisions based on, well, if the whim of the legislature is this, the whim of the legislature is that. I think we need to get our books in order regardless of whether we have assistance from them or not.
I would change my motion from 3.575 to 3.535.
5375.
I'm amending the original motion.
Well, wait, aren't we on the substitute?
You're debating both at the same time. Now, he's offering an amendment to the original motion, which you can amend both of these motions.
You can go out 3 degrees.
I didn't think it was complicated enough.
We have not yet voted to adopt the substitute motion, so.
But it takes precedence right now, correct?
It does take precedence, but he's acknowledging that if the substitute motion fails,
Right.
the original motion stands as he is now amended.
5375.
3.5375, correct?
3.5375.
Clay, I don't think we can get to his motion until we get to we have to dispose of the motion of higher precedence.
You are correct. We're going to have to vote to substitute first. But if he is if he is saying he's amending his original motion now, the original motion, if the substitute motion fails, we'll go back to that. So it's just a matter of housekeeping, whether we do it now or whether we do it then. We cannot vote on his motion until we vote to substitute. You are 100% correct on that. So no matter what this proposal he is suggesting is, we still have to take a vote on whether to substitute for the original.
But we have to let the public.
I mean, Commissioner Curry, I like, you're going in the right direction
But on the actual.
on lowering property taxes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to mess with my substitute motion. I think this is, I mean, if we can't get there with, I mean, to me, I don't know. I'm speaking of common sense and what comes out of my checking account, and maybe it's beyond my scope when I look at, you know, we're going to end up spending $12 million on this loan and interest. I don't know. Maybe that's just a commoner in me. It's hard for me to fathom that $12 million is nothing. But anyway, you know, with the EDA, they spoke on the EDA. And I have the EDA monthly financials right here. My printer ran out of ink, or I would have made more for everybody. But there is no projects out there that they are putting money in. There's 3 accounts, and there's nothing assigned to any of them, any of this money. So I don't know what projects up north that we're looking at or looking to spend $800,000 on. But, you know, we're not getting out of the EDA. They have plenty of money in there. They have $800,000 in there. So, I mean, I think $420,000 would help the folks of Walton County a little bit better than paying off the EDA's vehicle or whatever they want to do now. So that's my point on the EDA. But, you know, I think there's room, and Melissa may be able to sharpen her pencil a little bit more. I mean, I want to keep it where it's at.
Perhaps.
We need to have a second if we're going to.
Well, we do have the second on the substitute. I think before we get to how we would adopt a budget to conform to that millage rate, we need to go ahead and address the substitute motion, to Commissioner Drake's point, because that has been motioned and then seconded. So we are not voting on whether to adopt your proposed millage rate. We're voting on whether to substitute your motion for the original motion at the proposed millage rate. That's step one. So let's go ahead and take that vote.
Well, let me
That's
say,
procedural, not public comment. That'll be on the next motion.
so I second the motion to get us in a posture to discuss, and I want to vote on the motion, but I want to get the math right. So like Commissioner Curry, I'll be redundant, I'll say it again, you're moving in the right direction on getting things moving closer towards the rollback rate, but the math is upside down on where you're taking the money. Yes, I understand that $12 million has been paid out, and if you add up the debt service on what we're going to pay, so you said an additional $4 million in interest by the time it's paid off. If we go this route, that number will actually probably go from, I don't know, 5.5 to 6. Does that sound right, Melissa? So we would, in the long term, we would be losing money. We would pay things off early. So what I would ask is with confidence that we would, and I would even concede the 3.50 that I've been insisting on to the 3 point whatever it is that you offered, if we would agree that we would not, I don't want to use the debt service to pay off the balance. I want to find another way to do that, and we've done this before. We do have time to come back and fix that, if you would.
Is there something that the pencil can be put to paper? Do you have anything in your?
We will work on this however the board would like for us to. Statutorily, we do need to handle the millage first and then exactly where it would come from for the budget piece. But yes, sir, whatever millage the board approves, we will go back and we have options as far as backfilling capital projects with excess funds received in the current year cash carry forward. I would never say reduce the millage and backfill operating costs with reserves. Right. I would encourage the board to look at the non-recurring capital costs if you wanted to look at that.
Can we do something with this substitute motion first?
That's what we got to vote on first.
Vote on it.
Would you change that piece where we're not losing?
We can still get to that same.
Well, that's not part of this motion. The motion is solely about the millage rate. How you then pull the budget out.
I thought it was contingent, but I get, now that what she says, it makes sense. So we need to vote on the 3 point, what's the number?
3.5071.
And so this is substituting it to become the primary motion, and then there'll still have to be a vote after this. And that's when public comment will happen on that vote. So at this point, let's vote just at the board level whether we're substituting this motion in.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
So reflect that, is that 3-2?
3-2.
3-2, it fails, so we now move back to the original motion, which was Commissioner Glidewell's that you proposed an amendment to, is that correct? Because you did put an amendment on the table, so we need to,
Tempted not to do it, but I'm not, I'm gonna go ahead.
just restate the amended original motion. Let me through my parliament.
At 2.5, an additional 2.5 cut, that would be 3.5375.
3.5375 is an additional 1.659, the 1,659,914 off of what we've already cut. So a whole, in total, $2.76 million cut from the millage of this past year.
But we've already figured in the original 1.1.
Correct.
That's what she
This
just
would be an
An
additional.
additional 2 point,
No, additional
no,
1.6.
I did a, but besides what we've already figured, that's the 1.1. What is an additional 2.4 cut?
My number then.
could be real close to 3.5.
Yes.
I'm trying, y'all,
3.50,
without,
3.505?
Because mine's 4.1, you're making it 3 point something, so you're talking about a $600,000 difference?
3.5 cuts an additional 3 million, 3.3 million, so I'm gonna go up from that.
I tell you what, let me make it easy. I will amend my motion to.
Oh, let's let her get the number for us either way, because they're both over here punching a calculator.
This is about like being on the Price is Right.
I'm sorry.
Because we're going to have this number exact for the next motion, so either we're going to sit up here and twiddle our thumbs, or we let them do it now, so.
3.519 is an additional 2.5, just under $2.5 million cut additionally.
3.519. I make a motion that we change,
Amend your
or I amend my motion to 3.519, and that money come,
We can't stipulate, let's just
Not yet,
stick with
that's
them.
the
okay, but I got a place to get it from. That doesn't involve
We
cutting.
got to go to Commissioner Anderson for the amended second.
I'll amend the second.
Okay, so we have a second and a motion for 3.519. All in favor? Oh, I'm
Now we have to have public comment.
Sorry. Okay. Anybody else up here want to say anything before we go to the public?
Because we've already debated the primary and the
Okay.
substitute, let's start.
Anyone? Bonnie? Bonnie, come on up. You can come up.
The millage,
The millage.
solely on the millage.
Anyone want to speak on the millage? Ms. Harris?
Thank you, Brad Drake, for being a physical conservative. People in this north area and people in the south too, especially people from out of state who own rental property that have watched their income go down drastically this year, are having a problem. Now, I don't care what y'all cut it to, but I'm gonna tell you this. You leave this too high and don't listen to Dan, I promise you, when you run for office, and this is not a threat, you go take $22 million for a sports park that we don't have to have, or you take $22 million for a senior building, people up north of this bay are paying more for groceries than they've ever paid. They're trying to get their kids clothes to go to school. I'm hearing it from phone calls all the time. So all I'm gonna tell you is, don't come back here and say, oh, we saved a little bit, but now we want 22 million for this, we want 14 million for that. This is fluff stuff. And I mean, y'all better really think about this. Brad and I don't always agree, and lately we hadn't agreed at all. But on this thing, Brad is 100% the only fiscal conservative sitting up here, except for Dan Kirk.
Anyone else?
No, ma'am, this is solely on the millage
This
rate.
is, yes, so you can get it next. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Wait, what's the,
3.519 millage rate is the sole motion before the board.
3.519.
Did I say that right?
It's a $2.5 million reduction, in addition to the total.
Addition to the 1.6 that was already out.
are we in a posture to debate?
On the millage rate, if y'all want to have any more debate at the board level, yes. About the
I just
millage,
want
not
to say,
about the budget.
I'm going to say, I'm prepared to vote no on this. I don't think it goes far enough. We had almost $17 million more that we've taken in this year than last year. That money belongs to the people that paid it, not us, and I'm going to vote no on the millage rate because it does not go far enough.
Okay. Any-
I have one other thing. A lot of folks know that me and Commissioner Drake don't agree on a lot of things, but I'm going to have to concur on him on this one. So my vote's no.
Well, let's go ahead and vote then. Yeah, well, I mean, we're basically polling, but let's just go ahead.
Right. Okay, the motion is on the floor. We have a motion and a second for the 3.519, which is an additional $2.5 million. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Nay.
Passes 3-2. Okay.
Okay, Commissioners, now we'll take the resolution to adopt the budget. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of Walton County, Florida set forth the appropriation and revenue estimates for the budget for fiscal year 2025-26 in the amount of $328,295,088, of which $1,340,000 is for the North Walton Mosquito Control.
All right, hold on one second. We got to wait on,
Mr. Gladwell.
I have to clarify something for the record, too. That's my fault. The mosquito control, we need to make sure that number didn't change as part of that.
That's right.
What was the mosquito control millage, Devin? 0.441. I just need that confirmed, that was part of the motion.
And then
Okay, she's got to confirm it on the record.
You do? Okay.
And
I
I'm,
want him to confirm on the records, there's no audio gap.
and we also need to read the new rollback rate and the percentage increase over the rollback rate per the state requirements.
As soon as he confirms the 0.441, we will do that. Commissioner Gladwell, if you will, for the record, confirm that your motion to reduce the countywide millage of 3.519 included the stated North Walton mosquito control rate of 0.441.
Yes.
Board understands that was the motion. Madam Clerk, do you have that? Yes. If we will, before we move to the budget, please announce the revised rollback rate information.
the fiscal year 2026 aggregate operating millage rate is 3.5481, which is greater than the rollback rate of 3.4337 by 3.22%.
Back to the resolution on the budget.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So, Ms. Thomason, correct me if I'm wrong, but how I would propose to pay for that cut, there's about $2 million in unanticipated interest receipts. So that's 200 million of it. We got $400,000 in unanticipated auction receipts that we can use. So that's 2.4. So we needed 2.5. What was the rest of it?
There was also state payment in lieu of taxes. We received $50,000 over the budgeted amount. We had also, the board had sold that property in Mossy Head to Tourist Technologies of $65,000. That was not budgeted. So there is sufficient funds.
But what do we need to get to? 'Cause
The 3.519.
yeah.
That gets to it. That gets us to it.
Those two things will
get
do
us
it?
to it. It's about $5,000 over. Those four
You
things.
had the,
How about, well, instead of going and getting money from those minor, if we take 150 and sweep that back from the EDA, that would do it, correct? So that's how I would propose we do it, is 2 million in unanticipated interest, 400,000 unanticipated auction money, and 150,000 we sweep back from the EDA. That's my proposal.
And in the budget, what this would essentially do is replace ad valorem taxes with cash carry forward to do it that way.
Which is legal. We can pass that based on what we're with.
is that 2.6 million that you just came up with? 2.6 million?
It's close to it. Yes.
Anyone else? Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any conversation?
I do have one. I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Oh,
Did you
go
wanna
ahead.
Go ahead.
I just,
In, what is it, 35 minutes, we cut the budget without even, going back to the drawing board and looking any further on what we can and can't find. So I find that, I don't want to use the word troubling, but if we could do that in 40 minutes, imagine what we could do in a week. So I don't know, that's just what
But I would say, with all due respect, that should have been done 2 months ago. We've been talking about the budget since July. We've had 3 meetings since July, and nobody said a word. So now we are here, a week before that month. We're a week before we've got to turn these things in, and we have to turn them in by October 1st. And it's not fair to our staff to, at the last minute, try to make massive cuts. Now, we just cut $2.5 million off the budget, and we'd already cut 1.1 million off. So that's $3.5 million. That's over 10% of the budget that we have cut. Now, we have got to start running government like it's supposed to be run. And that means doing it in a timely fashion and having serious proposals. And, I mean, the last budget meeting was 6 minutes. 4 of that was probably the pledge and the prayer. Nobody said a word.
There was a staff meeting as well. I don't think anyone attended that.
Nobody attended. So, and I want to say on the record, government has a duty to provide adequate infrastructure for our citizens. And it is, in my opinion, an abomination that we have got people who have had their house flooded for 10 years and we have not lifted a finger to try to solve their problem. $7.8 million, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly, Ms. Thomason, $7.8 million of that extra money this year that we only had because the sheriff turned in a flat budget. The only thing that $7.8 million is to fix the drainage problems on Driftwood and Ellis that we have been promising people for years. Now, when I first got elected 7 years ago, that project was about a $2-3 million project. And we keep putting it off, and we keep putting it off, and we keep putting it off, and now it's $7.8 million. If we put it off another 5 years, my gosh, it'll be $15 million. And these people's houses are still, I don't know, I really don't know why they haven't sued us, because that's ridiculous. And, I mean, you can say, that's not even in my district. That's not within 30, 40 miles of my district. But it's the right thing to do. We've got to do the right thing for everybody. And that's the right thing to do. And if I don't see how anybody can say that it's wrong to try to fulfill our duty to these people when we've got the resources to do it. Now, if we were sitting in a county, and there are some that don't have a dime to their name over what they've already spent, that would be different. But we've got the resources, and we need to help these people. And I'm just simply not amenable to telling them one more time, I hate it, but we can't fix your house. We can't fix the drainage under your house. Or to tell the people on 395 the road is literally falling apart. And we've been telling them for 10 years, oh, we're going to fix it. We've already let the permits expire and got them again. But no, we're not going to worry about that. We got a responsibility to these people. And I would say that capital project money, that's all in somebody else's district. That ain't in mine. But fair is fair, and right's right, and wrong's wrong. Thank you.
I agree. Go ahead. Thank you.
I don't think I said anything about taking, I think that was my two stipulations today was don't touch staff and don't touch capital improvements. And the Reader's Digest version is we still ended up doing that, a different route, but the point is we did that in about 25 minutes off the whim, and I guess that's what you were talking about, Melissa, when you said that, if the loan value, you had another option, so I'm assuming that's the option you were talking about. So I just want that to be clear that nobody up here discussed about taking any capital improvements away and anything about staff. I think we owe it to staff and the citizens of this county to do the best job that we can, figuring out the best way to let them have their own money to spend the way they want. But yet we still have to do our jobs when it comes to infrastructure. That's all I was trying to do was weigh and teeter-totter that out. And, it came close, and I appreciate the compromise. But I think we could have done a little better. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to remind everybody, too, that it's not all money that's the county's to do with what we want. We have to pay the constitutional officers their funds. We have to support them, including the sheriff's budget, which is about $110 million of this money. And so it's not all coming to the county. I personally think that we've done a good job here. Like I said, I was at a conference last week with commissioners and people from all over the state of Florida, and what we were told in that meeting is be careful to rolling that back too much because you don't know what's coming. And maybe next year we can do a better job and meet what Commissioner Curry and Commissioner Drake are talking about. But this year, not knowing what we've got coming, I just don't think it's the right time to do it. I think it could be detrimental for the entire county, the entire county as a whole, and I don't want to put people in a bad way. And so I think that this is our duty to do this year, and if we can do better next year, then we'll do better next year.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I would also like to point out that we have reduced the millage rate in the last 4 years from 3.6363 to 3.6, and now we're going to 3.519. I mean, those are substantial decreases over the last 3-4 years that we have been able to do. The reason we've been able to do it is because property taxes are figured based on two multipliers. One is the millage rate, and the other is property value. The Board of County Commissioners has no input, none, on property values. That is totally set by the property appraiser based on a state formula. We have nothing to do with that. The piece that we have as far as figuring the taxes is the millage rate, and we have reduced the millage rate 3 of the last 4 years, and that's important
to remember?
I have one more thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, but I'm reading off your email when I asked the last 5 years of budgets. In 2021, it was 194.9 million. In 2022, it was 215 million. In 2023, it went to 256. In 2024, it was 318. In 2025, it went to 310, and now we're looking at 328, and we cut $3 million. That's all I got to say.
Anyone in the public like to speak to this? Bonnie? I'm sorry? Yes.
Well, I'm here to suggest a way that you can save $350,000. And I've got some documents that have been handed out. And there is a budget item that is the continuing Phase 2 of a connector road from 38 to 98 through Point Washington State Forest. Phase 1 of that study cost over $600,000, and there was an agency meeting back.
Excuse me, can you tell us your name for the
Oh,
record,
I'm
please? I'm sorry.
Celeste Cobina, and I live at 412 Hilltop Drive in Santa Rosa Beach.
Would you spell your last name for her, please?
Cobena. And during that meeting, they had all of the agencies involved, all of the state agencies, the federal agencies. They had the utility companies there where they want to put this road, and every one of the agencies said no. There will not be a road there, and they offered alternatives. And that's why are we continuing to spend money on this? I think, and I've dealt with the state for decades now. I know how the process works. They are not going to allow a road through the largest tract of conservation land in South Walton. And they follow the Florida statutes. And this is not allowed. It's not a allowable use for conservation and recreation lands that were bought with Preservation 2000 funds. It's very clear in the statutes, and they know it, and obviously there's some people in the county that don't know that because we continue to waste money on this rather than to really solve the problem. And, you know, Commissioner Drake just said how 80% of the people in Walton County said, we don't want to be taxed. We don't want to be paying for infrastructure because that is a road just to bring the tourists down to 30A, cause a larger congestion on 30A. And what needs to happen is, number one, look at the alternatives. And that's one of the things the state's going to go, there's alternatives here. And they know it. All of the agency people know it. They've put it in writing in those letters. It's in the minutes that you have in the documents. And two of you commissioners knew that before y'all voted to waste an additional $300,000 in Phase 1. Commissioner Anderson and Glidewell. And you knew the agency said no, and you just continue to throw this money at it. And it's just time to, you know, y'all caused the problem by increasing the density down there in that area in Seagrove, doing lot splits, and letting people build hotels and calling it a house. And it's not up to the state to fix it. And one more thing, the answer to this problem is to get the low-speed vehicles off of 30A. There's your problem. And I know you say, oh, we can't do that. Well, you look over there, Bay County, they got rid of those scooters. And they'll never get rid of the scooters. And, you know.
Celeste, I got to
Yeah,
keep it on
okay.
time. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Bonnie?
Thank you. Bonnie McQuiston, McQuiston. Well, I'm a little confused because last week, when I spoke to Commissioner Gladwell about this road, he told me there's no funding for the road, there are no easements for the road, and it's going to be a long time before this road can be looked at because there are a lot of roads that need to be fixed in Walton County. And now here we are, and we look at the budget of $350,000 for another consultant on this road through the forest. And in the last 25 years, consultants have been paid over $1 million to study this road through the forest. We've had public forum after public forum, and every public forum, opposition to the forest road is overwhelmingly has overwhelmingly outnumbered the support, sometimes 200 to 1. And yet, it's become a game. Every time we have a public forum, we have comments, we never see them again. The final recommendation is always, the only thing we can do is put a road through the forest. Has anyone ever told the consultants, find some alternatives, find some ways to ease traffic on 30A, and leave the forest alone? Don't touch the state land. Let's see what they come up with. There are alternatives. Now, Point Washington State Forest was bought on a promise of preservation, not as a placeholder for development. The forest is one of the most valuable assets in the county. A promise made should be a promise kept. We have watched the landscape of South Walton obliterated with 10,000 apartments. We've watched exception after exception to our comp plan. We watched every new development clear-cut without a blade of grass or a tree left. The only green left is our state land. We are obligated to protect Point Washington State Forest for now and for future generations. We cannot fracture that forest with a highway, a 2.5-mile highway, by the way. Unsustained development and density has been approved in this guy. You all have approved unsustaining development and density. And now want to attack the state forest to clear cut an unnecessary highway. Every state agency with a vested interest in this forest has said, you're not going to get the road. They've rejected it. So you want to save money in the budget, take out the $350,000 for more consultants. And the good news is, you're not the decision makers on this. It will go to the state, and that will be rejected. So I'm asking you not to spend another penny. Don't waste another penny on pursuing this state road. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie.
Clay, that was part of the, when I first started speaking, I wanted to pull that back, and I said, can I make that a separate motion?
And this would be the time to do it. It'd be part of
Okay.
this, so it would have.
I'd like to
good to
make
pull-
that
pull
motion,
that-
to pull that back.
So you're asking to, why don't you, Commissioner Gladwell, would you amend your, who made the motion on the budget? Would you amend your motion to pull that 350 PD&E out? No. All right, so you have to make a substitute motion again, and we'll go right back through that process.
The whole budget?
No, the process we did about substitute motion.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll make the substitute motion to pull it back.
So it'd be to adopt the budget less that 350,000 PD&E.
And that total would be $327,945,088.
So we need to see if there's a second to that motion, Madam.
I'm sorry. Can I make one real quick comment?
Let's get the second
Okay,
first or
okay,
not, then we can come back to Ms.
Is there a second for that motion to pull back? Okay, we have a motion and a second to pull back the $350,000 for the study for the road through the forest.
That's good, because I talked to the South Walton Fire District today, an assistant chief there, who told me, and he's in charge of all the roads and stuff, fire stations. They have gotten land now to build a water sound fire station, and it should be completed in 2 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Barbara?
Technically,
Don't we have to vote on?
yeah, technically, before we have more public comment, we're gonna have the vote,
Oh.
we have to have debate at the board level, and then the motion to either substitute it or not, because then the public has a right to comment on whatever the actual final motion is.
All right, would you hold off, Barbara? Okay. Is there any more debate? Okay, so we need to vote on this.
We need to vote on the substitute motion.
Okay.
And Commissioners,
We have
I'm sorry, I just didn't want to lose track of North Walton mosquito control again. I'd given you the total for the overall county budget, and there is still $1,340,000 of that for North Walton Mosquito Control District. That's included in the $327,945,088.
And both the original and substitute motion include that. Getting head nods, Madam Clerk.
Okay, so the motion right now is to pull back the $350,000.
So this will
And we
be
have
to
a second.
substitute. This will be to substitute that in, and then we will vote on whether we adopt that budget.
Okay. There's a motion to substitute that in. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. So, okay, what do,
Why don't we do a roll
Motion.
call? Because I could.
no,
Yes.
Yes.
yes. 3 yeses, 2 nays.
So substitute motion prevails. The budget will be dropped $350,000 with that elimination to the amount Melissa said. You can continue a public comment on that as the revised budget.
Okay, Barbara?
Thank you. It's Barbara Morano. I was going to say thank you for that motion. What I was going to say at the last budget meeting, which went very fast, is I really wanted to say thank you to Melissa and to Peyton for the work that they did. That's number one. The second thing is thank you, Dan, Commissioner Curry, for trying, and Commissioner Drake for bringing this budget down. I want to make a motion about, not a motion, I want to make a, I think you did. As far as the infrastructure and how the people felt on that tax, I want to add another perspective to that. First of all, it was 30 years. That scared a lot of people. It didn't have a sunset. Also, there was something else out there that someone said it was illegal, all right? So you could pull some facts on that one. And then basically it was trust. People did not trust this for 30 years. So it's not that we did not want infrastructure. We do. We just did not want it that way. I wanted to make that perfectly clear. It's not 80% of the people didn't want infrastructure. That's not true. So thank you. Tomorrow is your BOCC meeting, and I will see you there.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Barbara.
You gotta recognize that, Barbara, I agree with you. If that sword cuts both ways. If the referendum said that 80% did not want to pay for the tax, meaning they didn't want to pay for it, doesn't mean, I mean, if you make that statement, then you have to recognize that, well, there is no infrastructure without payment. So we don't have, I mean, we obviously don't have the resources to dedicate just for infrastructure development. I mean, we were struggling to cut $2.5 million tonight. So it's a decision that's going to come down to the community. If there is enough pressure, if there is enough interest in developing added infrastructure, then the people will say, okay, we're willing to pay for it, because somebody's got to pay for it. Either you pay for it through ad valorem assessments, or you pay for it through sales tax. But you can't just hope that the road and infrastructure will come. You got to pay for it. And then at that point, if the people tell us we do want to use our money to pay for that, then, you know, we have to recognize that. But it's not that it hasn't been identified that there's a need. It's that if you do identify that it is a need, you have to recognize there is an obligation to pay for it as a citizen.
Madam Chair, just so the record's accurate, that was a 70-30 vote. 70 somewhere in 70 to 30 vote. And I mean, if we're going to talk about polls, you know, there was a poll 4 years ago about the Forest Road, and 60-something% of the people wanted it. So, you know, we just basically whacked 60% of the people. But saying that, Commissioner Drake is exactly right. There is no free lunch. We have to pay for this stuff, one way or the other. And we're not.
Well, all due respect to both of you, this is not going to be a debate. There's infrastructure in the budget. That's great, right? There's a certain percentage.
I fought since July to make sure that $20 million stays put.
Oh. But also, I also wanted to say, and I wanted to say this last meeting, is we do have to watch really every penny we have right now, what you just approved. There's no treasure chest on the beach. That 1.5 million is not there to be spent every year. We could move that every year, keep it growing. We don't have a ton of money for the nonprofits. I mean, and we don't have a ton of money for some of these projects that are on the books. So we just all have to be careful on that. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Harris?
Suzanne Harris. Melissa, how much interest does the 22 million in the landfill reserve get each year? And what's it invested at? What rate?
It is invested with the overall county funds, and it's at about 5%, and I can tell you right now what it's earned. If my computer will cooperate.
Have we shopped those in a while?
Yes, we meet quarterly, the investment committee meets. Okay, interest year-to-date in the landfill fund, $975,000.
So if y'all cut the budget, 975,000, that would only be taking the interest, and you would still leave the $20 million there for other projects.
What we
Like
budgeted,
infrastructure. Some of that could be moved to infrastructure to fix Ellis and that.
it could.
And so if we're going to have 22 million, 20 million sitting somewhere, and we have all this infrastructure on Ellis and all these places that we're desperate to fix, some of that needs to be spent on infrastructure. But as Brad and Dan Curry were saying about cutting the budget more, if you just took the interest only out of it, then you would still have your $22 million there that could be spent on infrastructure or other items.
And we did budget $350,000, so we've got $625,000 in excess of what we've budgeted for interest. But one thing that comes up with the landfill fund every year is there's a recalculation that's got to be done of the landfill closure costs, and we're going to have to transfer, it was over $600,000 over to that reserve.
Okay, so even if you transferred 600,000, you'd still have 375,000 that you could cut the budget.
That'll get you half a mile of highway.
I know. So there's no way that anybody would vote to take any of the $20 million out of that landfill to cut the budget some? Is that what y'all are saying? Because we'd rather spend it on other stuff besides infrastructure? I mean, that 22, that.
Just clarify, that's the transfer station fund. Landfill reserves is an additional set of money.
Transfer station, this transfer station fund, I'm sorry. So nobody's willing to give up any money in the transfer station fund to lower the budget or to put towards infrastructure?
I tried that and it failed.
I would say,
Well, we could lower it more if we just took $1 million out of the 22 million.
but,
Then you could take 2 million out of it. You've got 20 million, 22. You could take 2 million out of it and pay for a lot of infrastructure.
I understand what you're saying, but there's a lot of uncertainty right now with what's going to happen next year.
There's a
And
lot of
so-
uncertainty about a hurricane too. So we shouldn't spend it on fluffy stuff. We should spend it on holding that money, like Tony said, just in case we have a hurricane, we have to borrow 30 million or whatever it is, and that 22 million is sitting there. That should be put in a reserve account for special needs, such as infrastructure or hurricane.
Well, I think next year, hopefully we can cut it some more. I would love to see Walton County have the lowest millage rate in the state. We're number 2 right now. We've got some doing to
I
get.
just think everybody's got some grand ideas about things, but I think the budget cutting helps everybody, north and south of the bay. It helps everybody. So I don't know why y'all can't just make another little motion to take a couple of million out of that. You'll still have 20 million to blow, and then you could still lower the budget.
But
Otherwise, I'd like for you to make a motion, Danny, that y'all put that $20 million and earmark it for either for infrastructure or for hurricane reserves. Because it's been 14 or 15 years since we had a hurricane. So we're probably due.
oh, we're due.
So I think that money needs to be earmarked for something that we have to have.
I think we've had enough of that.
Remind me what the stated question we're voting on?
We are now on the adoption of the budget, which was the revised budget Commissioner Gleiwell proposed, less the additional $350,000 eliminating the PD&E for the South Walton Connector Road through the forest. And they can give you the actual number. I did not write it down.
$327,945,088.
So the millage amount less 350,000.
But we've already,
I can't call you up, I was just pointing you out.
That's okay, come on, then, and that's the last one, and public comments is over.
I don't even know if I'm in the right place today, but I spoke to commissioners about 3 months ago about something small, Legion Park capital improvement budget. And they said, well, you're going to have one more chance to maybe talk about that again. Is this the chance to talk about it again? Or
speak now, forever hold your peace.
is it over then? I mean, will this get approved today if
It is in the, but Legion Park is in the budget, sir.
Dan Skupin, S-C-U-P-I-N? Okay, well, then, you're talking about wasteful spending and money that we shouldn't be spending on. This Legion Park is unwanted, wasteful spending, and it got approved the first time by the commissioners, and I talked to all three of them, and they said it was based on, or I say it's based on a lie, because the commissioners were told that the residents wanted these improvements. Well, the residents didn't want those improvements. So what happened? We went to a TRC meeting, Technical Review Committee meeting, and 10 speakers spoke on that, and Stephen Schoen tabled that Legion Park project and said, okay, go back, have another public meeting, and I want you commissioners and TDC to work with the residents and come up with a compromise, because this is totally unacceptable. So as far as I was concerned, it was dead at that point. So we had a meeting on July 9th. Okay, what happened at that meeting? 80 people showed up. All right, those people showed up, and I would say 95% of them were totally against this. Now, you say, well, how do you know that? Well, what happened was we taped the whole meeting, and so we know what happened, and we prepared an 8-page or 6-page budget or minutes of what happened at that meeting. And then the TDC prepared minutes. So as of right now, it's totally, the people do not want this. They do not want to spend this money. It's you're talking about saving some money. Well, there's $1.5 million you can save very easily because the residents don't want it. It's getting jammed down our throat by the TDC. We never knew that TDC had control of Legion Park. It just got foisted on us. And so they're doing things that we don't want, the residents don't want. And I don't know if this is the last time you can say anything about it, but if you want to save some money, that would be a good place to save some money. We're supposed to have another TRC meeting coming up sometime, and when that meeting comes up, we have a lot of speakers that are going to talk about it again. And I hope it gets tabled again, and this thing gets stopped, but I don't know how to stop it. It seems like there's got to be a special interest group or some kind of corruption or something that's forcing this down our throat. We don't want it, and the residents don't want it. And it's been proven twice at 2 public meetings. So that's all I have to say about that.
Madam Chair, is that your district? Yes, it is. Can you or someone else here at the table share a history on Legion Park?
I can, and I think Brian can as well. We had 2 meetings on Legion Park, and Legion Park is kind of it's a beautiful park. It's kind of tired, and it needs some upgrades. And we had a meeting a year ago and initially proposed 4 pickleball courts. the community didn't want 4 pickleball courts, so they wanted 2, so we changed it to the 2. So we did what they asked. We're resurfacing the basketball court, and it's used a lot by a lot of people. It is a TDC park, and it is for the community, and I believe that there are just people that live directly at the park that don't want to see any change. But the changes are actually beautiful, and it's going to be a gorgeous park, and it's going to be very beneficial for everybody. And so, Brian, do you want to add anything to that?
No, ma'am, I think you've summarized it very well.
I will say.
Okay.
I believe you came and saw me too, and I've never been to Legion Park, so I took time and went down there, and I sat with a couple of folks. I believe that their spouse was in one of those living centers there, and I sat down and talked with him and the other gentleman for 45 minutes to an hour. And then I went ahead and started walking around the park. That park does need some help. I mean, the bathrooms are, and it's not that staff is not doing their job, it's just old. I mean, the stuff needs to be revamped. It needs to be, it needs to have a facelift. I haven't seen the entire plan yet, and maybe that's my fault, but I'll make sure I look at the entire plan. But I think that park is screaming for a little bit of a facelift. The asphalt, I believe they wanted to pave it. I think that's needed. I know the restrooms need to be fixed. Some of that equipment, playground equipment, needs to be looked at. The pickleball aspect is the end thing everywhere. So I don't know. I think there's some good things coming out of this. I need to see the overall plan. So I'm going to apologize at this point for not looking at.
And that'll have to go before the TRC, and the plan will be something that has to be discussed elsewhere outside of this. This is just the allocation of the money. Whether it actually gets spent, you still have contracts to approve and a variety of other things well before that happens.
But as it stands, that money would be sitting there
For that purpose.
for that purpose.
1.45 million.
And no, the public comments are over, but I would like to say that a lot of people have reached out to me and have emailed me that are in favor of the park, and they're very excited about it. And a lot of people in the area are pickleball people. I'm not, but a lot of people are. And so they're looking forward to those changes. So I just wanted to say that. But with that being said, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Real quick, is that a park that if I go down there on a Wednesday afternoon, am I going to see people there? If I go there on a Saturday afternoon, I'm going to see people there? Mm-hmm. It's being used? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, Commissioner Drake, I was there on a Wednesday afternoon around 12 o'clock, and there was kids and folks. Those swings are a fantastic idea. You sit on them swings and just look at the bay. That's where I was.
That's the new part. Yeah, it's really nice.
So to the gentleman that spoke against it, it sounds like we're putting the money in the budget to fund the park, but we could choose not to in the future.
Well, we have to approve the improvements. We have to approve the construction project and how we actually spend the money. If you don't put it in the budget, there's no opportunity to even do it.
But we could choose not to spend it?
Yes, absolutely.
So you have more time.
You'll get another bite at the apple.
At least one more, if not multiple.
Can I add a little bit?
Okay.
Can I add a little
Yes.
bit to that? So
Yes.
just for clarification, Legion Park is one of the older parks in the county. I believe it was originally what we call a wayside park. I'm not sure how the county exactly came to possession of it. At some point in its early life, it received what we call FERDAP funding, which is a recreational grant from the state. That's when the basketball court was put in, and somewhere later on there was a request for a pickleball court that was installed by the Beach Operations Department with TDC or TDT funds. Recognizing the park was seeing its age in many different ways, we included it in an annual budget, just like we include other parks in our beach operations annual budget. From that inception of, hey, let's fix up Legion Park, as we started gathering ideas from different sources, some of them were internal. The roadway into the park and the parking area was originally gravel. There was some asphalt thrown down in a 12-foot wide linear path to make it a little bit better, to reduce some of the maintenance on it. It needs to be wider. Haphazard parking to a certain extent, we solve a lot of that with hardscape and landscape, which we've done through the years. As we got into this process, it's just taken the typical route that all of our projects take. And I'm very cognizant to the fact that some people would like improvements and some people would like for it to stay like it is. We've taken a very methodical approach to any park improvements, where we don't try to blow it out in any form or fashion. In fact, I use a technique where we kind of limit access to the park through formalized parking, like I say, hardscape and landscape. And part of that technique, or that best management practice in park design, is made to limit the number of visitors that could conceivably come there, so as to maximize the visitor experience for the people that do get to use the park. I recognize that a lot of the people that use that park are from that immediate community. Every time I'm down there, there's people walking or biking, but it is a county park. It is funded by TDT and has been for quite some time. The next progression through it is the TRC meeting, where there'll be time for public input. We have followed all of Walton County's land development codes in this less than minor development order. The next opportunity would be where I come back to you with all of the necessary permits in hand, with a request to put it out for bid. And then the opportunity after that would be where I've taken in bids and I ask you to approve the most responsive bidder for a construction contract. So 2 more opportunities at this dais for input and for the county commissioners to decide if they would like to improve the park or not. Just wanted to make sure everybody understood the process.
It was an ambulance station at one time.
It was?
But both it and Cessna Park were formerly a fire district and an ambulance station, and then later gifted to the county in some form or fashion. And then FERDAP money was the money that was used to get them going. A former TDC director understood that by incorporating recreational components to a wayside park, you could get more money from the state.
I think it was originally a American Legion Park. I think. I don't know that for sure.
We still have a motion and a second on the floor.
Remind me
All
what
in-
this motion is again.
This is the adoption of the budget with the reductions from Commissioner Glavell plus the $350,000 elimination.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
Was there any chance anyone wanted to reduce it anymore? Okay. All right, a motion and a second is on the floor.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a desire, or I don't think the votes are there, but to answer your question, yes, I would love to reduce it more.
I'm leaning towards Ms. Harris's idea on the transfer station funding.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
4 yeses, 1 no. Need a motion to
Close the
adjourn.
public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed.
And
No.
Commissioner, if you wouldn't mind, we have thrown out enough numbers. I just want to make sure, especially for the clerk's notes, that we all are on the same page. We're looking at a countywide millage of 3.519, North Walton mosquito control millage of 0.441, an overall budget of $327,945,088, of which $1,340,000 is North Walton mosquito control.
Thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting is adjourned.